Worldwide. 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 Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum. What did I say? I said that greeting of peace. Peace be unto you. This is a greeting of all the messengers. And if you've been tuning in, you've learned that this is a greeting of Jesus, Moses, and the last and final messenger sent to mankind, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. We're here every Wednesday, midnights, Thursdays, 2 p.m. If you're in Chicago, CAN TV 36, or at thedeanshow.com, you can see all of our shows there for free. We have in the studio someone who used to be kicking it with the hip-hop celebrities and was one himself. He was living that fast life in the fast lanes. And when we come back, we're going to hear why he put a break on it. And he did something more fulfilling than all of this combined. When we come back here on The Dean Show, you don't want to go nowhere. We'll be back with Napoleon here on The Dean Show.
Allah, there's only one God and Muhammad is his messenger. Allah, la ilaha illallah. Allah, there's only one God and Jesus was his messenger. Allah, la ilaha illallah.
I don't know why I did that. Maybe it's just to break the ice. Worldwide. Worldwide. Worldwide.
When I was 3 years old, my parents got killed by my so-called godfather.
Former member of the Tupac Outlaws.
I didn't think it was going to be a matter of life and death.
They murdered Tupac, they assassinated Tupac in Las Vegas. Now that he's gone, I started thinking.
I'm a Muslim man, alhamdulillah.
This Napoleon.
That's just the way it is. It's just the way things will never be the same. Will never be the same.
I believe that you can't just live a life and just drop dead and that's over.
Hear me.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How's everything?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much for being with us here.
The pleasure's mine, man. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
We was working on it for a while, but glad to be here.
The Creator made it happen. You're here. I'm here.
Definitely.
And hopefully our audience now, they got their ears tuned to the screen, and we're going to try to share your story.
I'm here. I'm ready.
This is a unique story because you used to be kicking it with a famous rapper, Tupac Shakur. I got to get mine. You got to get yours.
Yeah.
You were getting yours, huh?
About that, man. Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely.
Yeah. So talk to us now. Tell us a little about this life you were living before we get into the details of how you came to Islam.
Basically, I used to be one of the members of the Outlaws, a group that was put together by Tupac Shakur. I went by the name Napoleon. We was more like a family. You know, some of the members, most of the members of the Outlaws was related to Tupac, cousins, brothers, etc. My role, I came in with the Outlaws through Gaddafi, who was the half brother of Tupac. And it basically was like a family affair that we rode together, did records together, toured together, but that lifestyle came to an end. And for me, growing up in that lifestyle, rolling with Tupac, I never thought that it would come to an end the way it did, you know?
Because he's dead.
He's dead.
How old was he?
Pac was 25 years old when he passed away. He was very young.
That's very young.
Very young, very young. So it was a life, it would basically, it happened, I didn't expect it to happen that way. None of the members of the Outlaws expected. It was one of them things where we was living a fast life. We was going 100 miles per hour and boom, we got hit by this, you know. 2 months later, Gaddafi, who actually is the member of the Outlaws who introduced me to Tupac, he got murdered accidentally by my little cousin. So not only did we lose Tupac, 2 months later we lose Gaddafi. A few months later, before that, my grandmother that raised me, she passed away. So it was 1 year where I see nothing but death. And then that same year, I had a brother who committed suicide. So that's when I started saying, wait, whoa, something must be up. Something else is out there. let me figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. You know.
Did you know those other rappers like Biggie Smalls, who's also dead? Did you ever meet him?
I never met Biggie because at the time we came real close from meeting Biggie in the wrong way. It was a time that he was at a...
They were feuding, right?
Yeah, we was beefing with him, and it was a time he was at a location that us, Tupac and Suge Knight, we ran down on him, and we almost, if it wasn't for security guards, it probably would have been some blood spilling. So, you know, thank God it didn't happen the way we planned it to happen, but I never actually met him personally.
I thought a lot of these things were done like to sell records, but was there really feuds? These were real feuds that were going on behind the scenes?
This is real. You know, Tupac, if people familiar with Pac, he got shot.
Yeah.
He got shot, and he got shot 5 times, twice in the head, 3 times in his body. And he thought, and only Allah knows the truth, he thought that Biggie knew what was happening, and Biggie's supposed to have been a friend of his. Why didn't Biggie tell what happened? So Pac was one of them type of guys where he was a real dude. He wasn't the type of guy that just going to rap about it and let it slide. He had enemies that were trying to murder him, so he looked at it like these people are trying to murder him. So he looked at it like either I do something first, or if I sit back, they're going to shoot me again, and the next time I might not be that lucky, you know?
Now, 2 things can happen usually in a situation like this. You can now, A, humble yourself and say, hold on, man, my life, I got a second chance now. I need to get with it. Or you start thinking you're invincible.
Definitely.
Is that what happened with him?
I would say with Pac, I really want to know if he thought he was invisible, because one time we had a conversation with him, and he actually said, before he got shot, he always felt like it was something with him. In his own words, he said, I felt like I had a little man that was with me protecting me. He said, now that after I got shot, I feel like that little man is not there anymore. I had nothing to protect me.
You once mentioned that he said once he attained everything, because before, like, he was singing about death, that he, like, wanted to die. Is that true? But then when he got it, he said, man, I don't want to die.
Exactly. Now, it was many a times we had one-on-one conversations with Pac, and we would basically be in the living room with him, me and the Outlaws. Most of the time, this is our day. If we're not in the studio, we're not out in the club or whatever, we would just sit and talk with Tupac. And Tupac was a very intelligent guy. You know what I mean? He wasn't no dummy. And we would have serious conversations. And there was times that he would say, he would speak about death often. And he would say how he don't want to live anymore. And he would say it's because of the way his life, the way he was brought up, the way he was raised. And then when he get into the music industry, he thought that it would be better for him and he'd be more happy. He said, but it was worse. He was depressed, and he was catching a lot of lawsuits and cases, going in and out of prison. And it got to the point where he said he don't want to live anymore. But I remember it was a time when we went to Death Row Records, and Pac sold about 20 million records. He put a record out, All Eyes on Me. And Pac started to say, it was one time we was in his living room, he started to say to me and the Outlaws, he said, do you remember how I used to always speak about death?
Yeah.
He said, but now that I have all this money, he just bought him a nice house on the beach in Malibu. He just bought him a Rolls Royce. He said, but now that I have all this money, I don't want to die anymore. And a few months later, unfortunately, that's when he got murdered in a drive-by shooting. And for me, that was the first time in my life I actually started to think about death. I actually started to say, well, we don't have control over this. This is a guy who, when he wanted to live, his life got taken away from him. And it's no mistakes. Even though I had no religion growing up, I knew that it wasn't no mistake. I knew it was his time, but it made me start thinking. You know, it made me start to think about what's going to happen to me when I'm dead.
Now, many people, they feel like, you know what, death is far away.
Yes.
Pac was 22, but take a minute, because some of the people, many youth who grow up listening to hip hop and music and that, they know who Tupac is.
Of course.
But for some of the uncles, some of the people who, you know, really aren't in tune, can you tell them who this person
basically, Tupac is a guy, he's the #1 rap artist in the world. He sold over 60 million records worldwide.
60 million?
60 million. Myself was on 40 million records with him, along with the Outlaws. This is a guy who was, when it comes to that type of stuff, he was a genius. You know what I mean? When it comes to the music, when it comes to writing, he was ahead of his time when it comes to that type of stuff. And he was a workaholic. Not only was he a successful musician, he was a successful actor. He started coming up in different movies. So he was a young guy who had basically everything that some of the youth would think that life is all about. He had everything you can imagine. He sold the most records. Even to this day, he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for selling the most records than any other rapper. Nobody even passed him, even to this day. And most of these records he sold after his death. So Pac was a guy that he had humble beginnings. He come from 2 Black Panther parents. So he was raised in a type of struggle, in a type of political movement with the Black Panthers being his parents. Even when his mother was 6 months pregnant with Tupac, the FBI put a shotgun to her stomach and basically locked her up, and I think they gave her over 100-some years in prison. and she couldn't afford a lawyer. She represented herself and she beat the case. So Tupac growing up in this environment, one, that's why he had a lot of lyrics against the police, because he was raised in an environment where literally he seen the police chasing his mother and father around the country. So he was raised thinking that the police is his enemy.
Yeah.
So when he got into the music industry, you notice even though he had a lot of positive lyrics, but most of his lyrics was talking about what he was raised upon and what he seen and what he witnessed in his life. So he was, even to this day, the #1 selling rap artist. Even everywhere I go, I never see more people, and I would say unfortunately, I never see more people, especially in a Muslim country, looked up by the youth more than Tupac. Even in Saudi Arabia, unfortunately, you see his name spray painted on the wall.
Yeah.
So I talked to the youth about what his life was, and unfortunately, when he passed, he wasn't a Muslim, but they love this guy. You know what I mean? That's something that we can't take away, that the youth love him, and we here to just let the youth know the truth about that lifestyle.